Diolch, Dipper Lewis, and thanks, Minister, for your statement today. And I do appreciate that for many members of the Chamber and for several past members that have been mentioned, this has been a long campaign. It is an emotive issue, so I am mindful of what I say, but I think we do need to look carefully at any proposed legislation in this area. Now, Minister, you say this proposed legislation merely closes a loophole and it doesn't create a new criminal offence. I agree technically that that's the case, but Crown Prosecution Service guidelines are quite clear on where the law lies on this currently. Currently, the defence for smacking a child only covers reasonable chastisement. So, logically, people who are unreasonably punishing a child in a physical manner are open to prosecution as it stands. So there is an argument that we don't actually need this legislation. This could confuse the issue, and logically, people will be actually open to prosecution for reasonable chastisement, which seems to me an unreasonable application of the law. So how can we ensure that parents are not punished for legitimately disciplining their children who may be misbehaving? What safeguards are there going to be against needless prosecutions in these instances? There are potential problems of the police, the CPS and social services dealing with a large increase in complaints. Now, I appreciate what you just said, which I think was very sensible when you said that you were looking at 2 years to bed in any change in legislation, and there will be a public awareness campaign. And I think if we are going to go down this road, that is going to be a very important element. Sian Gwenllian was also raising the issue that in harness with your legislation, we may need more support for parents. Now, you mentioned health visitors and midwives could potentially be used, I think, in an educational way, in encouraging parenting, which doesn't involve physical chastisement. And, of course, we need to avoid that as far as we possibly can. So I agree with all that. The bit that Sian asked you that you didn't perhaps answer was any increase in resources to fund such a campaign and to increase that public awareness. And also, will there be any resource implications regarding the police and the CPS and social services, particularly when the legislation first kicks in? And finally, New Zealand, you've mentioned you're going to look at, or you are looking at rather, the example of New Zealand and indeed the 53 other countries that have introduced this legislation. So I appreciate that you are doing that. If we could have more perhaps more detailed responses to how they've dealt with this, either today or at a later date in the proceedings. Thank you.